I've helped generate over 1,000 qualified sales appointments over the last 3 years with my B2B prospecting agency, levergrowth.io. Now, clay.com is one of the most essential tools that I use in my tool stack. Now, today I've broken down the top 8 features in the platform that you can use to get great results. These are gonna be the highest leverage features that I have found that I use in my workflows all the time. And so what I'll show you today is how they work, why they're important, and give you some other tips and tricks along the way. Now let's dive into the video. Put together this little infographic here. We're gonna just work through these features based on their ranking from most powerful to just higher value. I'm gonna start down here at the bottom. This first one is TAM sourcing. So TAM sourcing is total addressable market sourcing. So one of the best things about Clay is that it is a tool that allows you to actually find data. It will manipulate it and it can enrich for it as well, but it also helps find good fit companies at scale. So this is particularly important if you're building count lists and you're running long-term outreach and nurture campaigns, you're doing account-based marketing, and you're trying to convert companies that might not have any awareness of you through the awareness cycle to convert them into qualified prospects and ultimately into customers. I'm going to show you how we can do this very quickly inside of Clay. I'm in Clay. I'm going to create a new table. And all you really need to do here is hit this selection, find companies. Now, find companies is super useful, and it's similar to some of the other data sources that you may have used, like Apollo or ZoomInfo. And so you can use the standard industry filters here. So you can select by company size. You can select if they're private, if they are public, they're government-based, nonprofit. You can include keywords that might be in their company's LinkedIn description, which is really important if you're trying to pull out specific terms like sales, they're working in data, they're doing outbound. You can also exclude description keywords as well. So if you're not looking for marketing agencies, but you want to work with companies that do advertising, right? That's an example. You can select by minimum follower count, by location. You can also exclude companies from other lists. So one of the great things about it is it allows you to select by industry, and then from there we can filter way more granularly from there. So let's just start with advertising services, because that's a pretty easy one to understand. So we'll preview the companies here, and you can see there's going to be quite a few that will pull through, right? So over 25,000 results. So like this is a great start because it's going to show us, hey, these are all of the companies that we could potentially reach out to. It's showing almost 1 million results. Now, the way that you pare this down is by selecting the company sizes that are relevant to you. And then further, which I'll get into in a second, is we'll do some additional lead qualification that makes it really, really easy inside of the tool. So let's just say we're targeting companies 50 to 1,000 in the advertising industry. And so we'll hit preview companies, and we're still over 25,000, but we've reduced it from almost 1 million to 38,000 results. So in this case, we'll just hit import to new table and start using this table. So quick insight here, you can enrich these leads, and basically there's a crediting system inside of Clay, but ultimately you can do this all for free and get some really good data, which we'll talk about in a little bit if we want to enrich further, but for now we'll just hit continue for free. All right, cool. So it's currently running, and so you can see, all right, we have imported companies, the company name, the description that's coming from LinkedIn, their primary industry, how big the company is, all that data that we can filter by, they'll pull through here, right? Obviously, company based in Pakistan or Colombia, if you're based in those, you might want to reach out to them. But if you're based in the US, like most of my clients are, you probably don't want to be reaching out to them. So this isn't a problem. We'll be able to manipulate and pare this down further in just a second. But ultimately, right, we have a huge list of companies that's growing by the second. You can see it there. But the key thing is we have the domains and the company LinkedIn URLs for each of these. So this is all we need to get started. So mapping your TAM, super important. This will allow us to build lists based on persona way easier versus just building a fresh list every single time. And so this is one of the core functions of Clay. It's 101, but it's incredibly high value. And so if you're just getting into it, I 100% recommend playing around with this feature. So that's TAM sourcing. The next one here is going to be AI powered formulas. So this is one of the greatest things that you can do if you're used to building lists and you've ever done anything inside of Google Sheets or Excel and you're filtering based on if-then statements, or you're creating custom formulas one-off, or you are looking up specific keywords with complex formulas, this is going to prevent you from having to do any of that. And you can simply do it by writing into their prompting tool to give you a great result. So let me explain. So as example here, you can filter based on each row, but instead of that, what I'll show you is the formula generator. So what you can do is you can write your own formula just with regular text. So they'll give you some example prompts, but in this case, using the scenario that we just kind of mentioned, is, hey, we're based in the US. We don't want to be reaching out to companies based in Pakistan or Colombia or Singapore or even the UK. So what we'll say here is if country, and you can insert a merge field, which is basically any of the columns. You can reference any of them. You can reference multiple, which is really cool. But we'll say if country does not contain United States, then exclude. And we'll hit generate formula. And so you'll see here that this gives you a sample output. So for each company, or excuse me, for each country that does not contain United States, then it'll be exclude. So then we can exclude from there, and then we're looking at the list way more accurately from there. And so you can also do this with titles. You can do this with literally any of the columns, any sort of data that you have in here. Referencing the merge field using the formula function is going to give you some huge leverage. And so, right, we have a list of 25,000 companies here, basically. Now, if we do this and we say US exclusion is not empty, what that means is about 12,000 of those companies that we just pulled down would be excluded. So like conversely, these are all the companies that are now qualified. And I'm using a very simple use case here, but like, the example is if your list is already pretty targeted, but you are using a tool like ZoomInfo, you're using Apollo, you pull down a list of companies. Some are going to be good quality, some might not be good quality in terms of fit. And so you can do this specific formula function to basically get rid of any bad leads, right? So you can even reference the description and say, hey, if certain terms exist, if marketing exists in this description, then good, right? So we'll say if description does not include marketing or advertising, then exclude. Sometimes you have to play around with these formulas a bit to make sure that they are accurate, right? So you would want to continue to manipulate this just based on your own use case, but all right, so if that doesn't say marketing or advertising, that's correct, right? So it doesn't pull it, but again, right, you're going to want to use whatever is relevant to your use case. I'm just showing you how to actually use it. So that's AI powered formulas, just super powerful. We use them for prospecting as well as ongoing qualification and even customer success. So let's move into the next. This is Clagent. So Clagent is one of those tools that Clagent is one of those features that cannot be overstated how important it really is. I say it's number 3 here, but ultimately it can be number 1. The reason why is it's effectively a agent inside of clay.com that you can prompt to go and do anything, find any information, go to any website in the world, analyze what's happening there. So this is one of the core functions that you'll use in order to qualify your companies based on custom data sets, right? So again, going back to the typical Apollo ZoomInfo, they only have a static set of different filtering criteria. This is going to allow you to find custom filtering criteria at scale for your specific total addressable market. Okay, so let's keep up with the example. So we're looking for companies that are marketing right now that are based in the United States. So let's take that one step further and say something like, go to the company website and tell me if they service they are B2B or B2C. And so you'll insert the website here. Go to the company website and tell me if they are B2C, and then you'll want to give it a little more guidance. Only turn B2C or B2B. We'll choose the model. You can use Claude, you can use Gemini. I'm going to use OpenAI 4.0 Mini because it's super cheap. So we'll do that. You can select a max cost. So if you're running a very complex prompt, you'll want to make sure that you're not just going to blow your budget. So max it out at whatever your budget actually is. But typically by running these, they're usually going to be 3 cents or less, often even less than a penny. So we'll just do 1 cent as the max here. And then we'll use their formula function again to only do this for companies that do not have exclude, right? So we'll only want to qualify further if this company has followed our qualifications up to this point, right? So if like marketing advertising column is not empty, is empty, then, so basically that means that any column that doesn't have exclude will run. So we'll hit output is correct. We'll hit save, run 10 rows. So Digital Silk, they are B2B. And this is because they focus on business clients. They offer services tailored to business needs. They provide digital marketing and web design aimed at businesses rather than consumers. That sounds about right, but let's actually just go in there and check ourselves as an example. All right, so that is B2B, right? They work with other businesses. So all these are showing B2B. Let's see, this one says B2C. So TikTok for business. See, that is not totally correct, right? So however, it offers tools for B2B marketing, but its primary focus is on B2C. So that's correct. And so TikTok is a B2B, it is a B2C company. But in this case, we would want to adjust the prompt. Say, hey, if there is a mix of B2C and B2B, then provide whatever the most likely response is. Only provide your response if you have a high degree of confidence. So when you're prompting your Clagent, just be very specific and direct with whatever your prompt is. The more specific you are with your inputs, the more specific you are with how you want your output to be, the more consistent your results will be. So that is Clagent. There's so many different use cases here. I can talk about this one for hours. It's awesome, but I encourage you to just check it out, start playing around. So that's Clagent. Next one is AI models in spreadsheets. So this is similar to Clagent, but again, we have the opportunity and the ability to use all of the AI models inside of Clay, inside of the sheet. And so we can create personalized messaging. We can create entire custom emails. We can put together pretty much anything under the sun. We can do pictures, images, whatever you want with the AI models. But in this case, right, we'll just say, again, like you can classify. All right, so let's do an interesting example. So like personalization is one of those things that I get a lot of questions about. And when it comes to personalization, I think a lot of people think you want to personalize on a person level. This person commented on a post on LinkedIn, or they went to a similar college that you went to. In some cases that does work, but ultimately it's pretty vanity focused personalization. Instead, I like to lean on relevance focused personalization. So like, what about the company makes them a good fit, and why you would be reaching out to them in the first place? Think about it like if you're just an SDR or an AE and you're doing manual research on your prospect and you reach out with that manual research, you want to think, what about that is relevant? Why would I be reaching out to the company? What would I say to that company? And then you back into it. So the example here is, hey, this company is B2B. They're in the advertising world. They might need fresh advertising ideas for their customers. So, what we can say here is, based on the company description, provide me with 3 concise marketing ideas for this company. Keep them less than 10 words and make sure it's written from the perspective of the sender who is wanting to help the company implement the ideas. So we'll hit save. And again, we're just going to use the OpenAI. In this case, we'll use 4.0 because it's a little bit better at writing text than Mini, but you also might want to use Claude because Claude is really good for copywriting. So here's an example. Let's just do this B2B one. So Digital Silk, boost visibility, elevate brand awareness effortlessly, convert more, transform traffic into customers, strengthen loyalty, cultivate lasting customer relationships, right? Elevate brand visibility, enhance fan engagement, amplify athlete presence. So the examples that they provide need a little bit of tweaking, but as you can see, with a very simple prompt, you can start to get some results. The key with this is just crafting the right prompt that's going to get you best end result. But this is just the basic process, right? You can apply it for however you want. So that's AI models and spreadsheets. Let's look at some additional super high value features inside of Clay. Okay, so the next super high leverage feature is going to be HTTP APIs. This is super important because while there are quite a few built-in integrations inside of Clay, I think they have 100 plus at this point, you still might be using some tools that don't naturally integrate. So an example that I'll share with you in a second is using my own email verification tool. This one is pretty simple. So the example is we have an email address that we want to validate. I use a tool called Million Verifier. Million Verifier doesn't quite have the integration inside of Clay. Doesn't mean we can't use it. So what we'll do is instead we'll set this up, and unfortunately I can't click on this without showing my API key, but basically you just have to set it up. You'll set up your headers, you'll set up what sort of body and results you're looking for, and then you can run it and it'll basically connect with whatever tool it is you're connecting to and give you the results. So in this case, it's showing, hey, this email address is a catch-all. So you can then either run your further waterfall enrichment or do whatever you want from there. This is incredibly flexible. There's unlimited use cases here. I'm just showing you one. So that's HTTP APIs. Next one here, rent subscriptions. So like I said, there's a lot of integrations inside of Clay that are just naturally built in. So we can even look at a few of these. We just hit add, you can see all of these, right? Ocean, Google Maps, you have just Google search, you have this company called AdBeat, you have Apify, you have LinkedIn, Reddit, you got Trigify. All of these integrations are just built into the tool. And so if you are an e-commerce brand and you want e-commerce data, but you don't necessarily want to pay for an entire StoreLead subscription, never fear, you can just click onto the StoreLeads account and there you go. Same thing with any of these, right? They will use credits. You don't have your own subscription, but that's ultimately one of the great things about Clay. It democratizes access to all of the top tech tools to build your lists however you could ever want, right? But anyway, yeah, you can rent all of these subscriptions. All you have to pay is the Clay price. You can use them at will, and you can start to see what's going to be super high value for you. And then if you want, you can buy the subscription yourself, set up your own API key, and then start running your integration inside of Clay, right? So that's another great tool. Next one, Waterfall enrichment. So this is one of the marquee functions of clay.com. And so waterfall enrichment is pretty simply the ability to find email addresses from multiple data providers with one click of a button. So the way that you do that is, let's say, let's say we'll find people at these companies. We'll go by job title. We'll just call them, we'll say VP of marketing. So they're gonna find all the VPs of marketing in this list, right? Of the 6,000 people who are currently in this filter view who are qualified, we're gonna import to a new table. And so again, right, you can enrich their profile and they're already giving you this automatic waterfall right here, but we'll just wait to do it just to make sure it's configured properly. So you wanna hit continue for this. Okay, so now we have our list and we got our people, VP of marketing at all of these companies. So the way you will find that email address, you'll just say work email, click into that, and then you can select whichever email providers are best for you in your use case, right? So you might like Lead Magic, you might like Find Email, you might like Prospeo, you do whichever, make sure you map it. Yeah, so you'll make sure that you map it properly. If you want to use their validation, you can do that. You can get rid of it and then use the API key or the HTTP API to validate further. In this case, we'll just hit remove, save and don't run, and I'll show you kind of what it looks like, right? So we'll just hit this. All right, cool. So it found it on the first go, which is good. I mean, sometimes it doesn't and it'll have to run through it, but you'll see like sometimes it won't find it, which is fine because you're just never going to find every single person that exists. But if you can, great. So yeah, as you can see, it's going to run through multiple data providers and just expand your data coverage. So, you might just have subscription to one tool or a couple tools. This will allow you to have subscription to all the tools at once. The last feature that we'll talk about is go-to-market workflows. So these can be manipulated and customized to your specific situation. You can think about it front end in terms of collecting new leads, whether you're running ads, whether you have great inbound lead flow from your content, from organic, from referrals, or filling out lead forms on your site, or you just have some trigger that's happening in the background, right? Some person visits your website and so they're now in your pipeline, in your funnel. What you want to do is you can enrich them much further. You can qualify them much more quickly, and ultimately route them to your salesperson. So your salesperson can be way more efficient and they can contact a lead within 5 minutes. There's been some studies that if you can reach back out to a lead within 5 minutes, you have a 20 times better chance of converting that lead versus if you just wait a couple hours or a full day, right? So let me just show you what I mean by that. So in this case, we have a webhook. And so this webhook was triggered by a form fill. And so, if you have any kind of form, whether you're using Zapier, whether you're using no code tools like Make or N8N, whether you're using ConvertKit and somebody signs up for your email list, what have you, right? You can push that data into Claytable and you can enrich it. So in this case, we'll push this packet of data in, which is a JSON. This is what it looks like. In this case, we have an email address. That email address then is going to be analyzed based on our prompt. And so, hey, we're just trying to figure out, is this company a B2B or B2C? So like if somebody fills it out and their company's B2C, then they're not going to be a good fit and you wouldn't want to reach out to them. You wouldn't want to waste any time, right? So this stops any additional triggers from happening. So if you have a salesperson, instead of them getting notified, hey, go reach out to this lead, only for them to do their whole workflow, go do some manual research and find out, hey, this is actually not a good fit, we're able to do that immediately, right? So that's just one example. And so what you can do is you can qualify them, make sure that they are in fact a good fit customer, do a little research on them, and you can push it wherever you need to, whether that's your CRM, create a new opportunity, push it into Slack to notify your team, push it into whichever sending tool that you're using. The world is really your oyster there. But this is one of the biggest unlocks that you can use as an advanced Clay user. So these are the top 8 features that I have found in using Clay.com. Dig into it. If you want some help implementing any or all of these, we've been building Clay workflows, Clay tables for our customers so they can enable their sales teams to operate at a higher level, close more deals more efficiently, then feel free to book a call at levergrowth.io. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Talk to you then. Peace.